Yo, Ethan, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Yo, you want to do a podcast again this year?
I sure do.
All right, let's do it. All right, we are back, everybody. Brian and Ethan's Biathlon podcast back for season number 2. Ethan, how have you been?
I've been good. Excited to watch some biathlon, and the first weekend was pretty exciting.
Dude, I am so jealous just seeing people skiing around because I've yet to be on skis this year. So seeing everyone racing over in Ostersund, Sweden has been, I've been pretty jealous, I'll be honest. How about you? Have you been on snow yet?
We've been on snow for a few days now, but it's been a pretty short, less than 1K loop, so it's not ideal, but it's better than no snow.
Sweet. Well, let's just dive right into it because I think we're both pretty excited that the season has started. So let's dive right into it with our first shot here. Canada. Holy smokes. They hit it the nail on the head for peaking for the start of the season here. Gow brothers, crazy good. Scott Gow, personal best, 4th place in the individual with clean shooting. Christian, 19 out of 20, just absolutely insane start to the season. Is this the new Gow brother contingent, or are they just starting off really strong and gonna fizzle out? What do you think?
I hope it's a new revamped Canadian team, especially for the Gow brothers, because they've been racing on the World Cup for quite a few years now. And they've had some good races in the past, but they haven't had consistent streaks, I feel like. And having good results right off the start of the season can't do anything but help the morale for them. So I like them going forward. They hit a lot of targets this weekend, and I think that's a really good sign for the rest of the year.
Absolutely. And it's kind of crazy to think, just looking at Christian Gau's results on Real Biathlon, this actually isn't the best that he's performed. Back in the 2018-19 season, his shooting was a lot better, and he was getting a little bit better results, but his skiing was better that season as well. So just to think that it seems like he's kind of had this in him the whole time. To me, it shows that he's not overperforming. Like, this wasn't an absurd weekend where he's just, head and shoulders above where he's been in the past. It kind of just shows that he's sort of, everything is just sort of clicking right now.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at his stats, I'm not really sure what stood out or what was different this weekend that earned him a 4th place.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, that was for Christian. For Scott, let's see how Scott's doing. Okay, I guess Scott's a little bit different story. He's overperforming this week. His ski speed is at an all-time high. His shooting percentage is at an all-time high, and obviously his rank race is at an all-time high. So, okay, well, Scott's overperforming this week, but Christian, I mean, he was pretty solid with what he's done in the past, and to see that he's currently 12th in the overall is really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're both, like I said before, like on the older side, and I wonder if, like, since they're brothers, I wonder if their kind of peak is a little later than most people. And so I wonder if this year, maybe next year, hopefully we'll get to see them continue to do well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and continue with the guys. Jules Bernat had a top 30 in the sprint with 1 miss in the prone and clean shooting in the standing, which is awesome because when he came onto the World Cup scene, he had a few really good races where he scored some points, but then kind of fell off a little bit. And hopefully he's able to keep this up throughout the season along with the Gow brothers, because it'd be really cool to see Canada throwing down with the rest of the world. And I think they can do it because they've had glimpses of good results, but they haven't been able to put it together. And the fact that they're starting the season off so strong, for me, means that they're going to hopefully be able to continue that success throughout the whole season.
Yeah, last year they were 14th overall in the Nations Cup, and currently they're sitting 6th. Obviously, it's one weekend, it's been 2 races. You can't judge the whole season off of it, but that is well above where they were last year. So, yeah, well, let's see if they can keep it going. And then even Emma Lunder on the women's side, she's started off really well.
Like on Real Biathlon, her shooting times have increased from last year and previous years, and her hit rate has also continued to increase. And if you're shooting time and if you're hitting more targets, if both of those are improving, you're doing pretty good. And I think the only thing that she needs to take that next step is the ski speed. And her ski times for the first 2 races were 46th and 78th, which aren't super spectacular, but it was the first weekend of the season, and hopefully as she races some more, she'll kind of get those fast legs under her and be able to keep hitting targets and have good success.
Yeah. And I mean, as an American, it's always fun to see our neighbors to the north do well, because seeing them at races and growing up with some of these athletes, it's always good to see them do well. So, best of luck to Canada. All right, missed shot. I gotta go with the IBU app. I know. Have you downloaded the app? Have you been using it?
I have, yeah.
Okay. What kind of phone do you have?
I have an iPhone.
Okay. So my app has been sort of messed up. My opinion is still out about whether or not I like the app or if I'm going to continue to use the app. I think it's pretty basic. I'd prefer to use the data center during live races, but on my app, it keeps showing people with more misses than there are targets to shoot. And so I actually tweeted about it, and specifically with a screenshot of Martin Ponsaloma, who had 8 misses in his 3rd stage during the individual. And the IBU actually got back to me. They replied to my tweet, and they said it's an Android bug that they're trying to fix. And apparently it's adding up all the misses of the race and applying it to the 3rd shooting stage for some reason. But they're gonna try to fix it in the next update. So. Yeah, we'll see. It seems like Android's always getting the short end of the stick here, but yeah. So what do you think about the app, though?
I like it. I think it's like I've been able to follow the races when I'm in the car or like making breakfast if I can't watch them. But I like it because you can choose the teams or athletes you want to follow, and as they get time splits or shooting results, it'll pop up with just those athletes. So you can kind of more carefully watch the athletes and teams that you're interested in. And I really like that about the app.
Yeah, I do actually like that too, because you and I are playing fantasy biathlon this year, and we chose some teams this week.
Right.
And I have saved all of my favorites on the app. So while I'm, watching the race, I can just pull up the app and see the latest on like how Sergei Barkonikov is doing from Belarus, because I mistakenly picked him for my team, even though he's really letting me down. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, you can get updates on how your athletes are doing. But I guess, speaking of fantasy, let's check in real quick to see how we're doing. I sent you a screenshot after the very first race, and somehow, even though we picked completely different teams, we were tied with the exact same number of points. Unfortunately, I think you did a little bit worse this morning.
I know. It was not a great morning today, but I was really surprised that we were tied after the first day.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. We were like towards the front half. I think there's like 500 teams playing, and we were both in like the 120 range, which was pretty good. So, yeah, that was super exciting. Let me just pull it up right here. So currently, I had a pretty good day. Had a lot of people in the top 5, and actually had Fabian Cloud and Philip Narvat, who tied for 6th. So I got some good points from them. But you're currently in 385th place. Oof. And I'm currently in 27th place.
Oh boy.
So, and there's 470 teams. So, Ethan's team, you guys will get them next week.
I hope so. It didn't help that Ponsaloma had 8 misses yesterday.
I know, right? Poncelum was letting us down by having 8 misses in one stage.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on, like first impressions of the season. Obviously, we talked about Canada doing super well, but just the World Cup in general. Who are you liking? Who are you impressed by? What do you see after 2 races?
I mean, it is the first 2 races in the first weekend of the season, so I think can't really learn too much, but you can definitely learn a little bit. I think someone that or 2 athletes that really surprised me for the women were Davidova and Hauser.
Bakken? Is that who
Yeah,
you're talking
Bakken.
about?
I
Yeah,
was trying to figure out how to say his first name, but
I
we'll
have
go with
no idea.
Bakken. Like Norway always seemed to pull someone up to the World Cup at the beginning of the year or halfway through the year, and they just have great races and end up in the top results. Like Ligrid, when he first came on, I remember I think he scored points in every race that first weekend he had, and another Norwegian, Philip Anderson, a few years ago, also did that same thing where he was top 30 in each of his first 3 races, and all 3 of those guys, Ligrid, Bakken, and Anderson, are in the top 17 of the overall. It's like I don't know where Norway are finding these guys, but if they're working and they're doing great, I guess that's awesome.
Yeah. No, yeah, and to go back, totally agree with you on Lisa Teresa Hauser. I think it's
Mhm.
awesome that she started so well because she's always been that person who's like, in the 10 to 20 range, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere she just exploded onto the scene,
Mhm.
getting her first podium and then her first win a couple weeks later, and she just like there was oh man, there was a couple of weeks there in a row where like she was on the podium almost every race, with the exception of a few, like a couple fourth places, ninth place, still in the top 10. I
Oh,
think you
sorry, go
can
ahead.
really see. I think you can really see a mental shift in her racing, where
Mhm.
she's now no longer like she doesn't consider herself an underdog. She,
Mhm.
goes into every race thinking I can be on the podium, and I feel like she has that mentality of Eckhoff, Roislin, Doro, Makarainen, all these top athletes from a couple of years past. I can see it in her racing now.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then Davidova. It was interesting in the post-race press conference. They asked her, you won the individual at World Championships. Do you feel like this is your event?
Mhm.
And she replied with, no, like I don't even consider it to be my event. Like I've completely wiped it out of my memory. Like I'm still, I think she was kind of getting at the fact that mentally she still does feel like the underdog. She still is,
Mhm.
just Marketa from the Czech Republic, and she still is fighting to be an elite athlete. Even though her results have shown the last couple seasons that she is going to be in like, the top 15 almost every race.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the Norwegian men, like I'm kind of pissed because I had Dale. I have Dale as my overall winner, and it caused a lot of controversy on the comment section of my World Cup predictions video because everyone is like, "No way is Dale gonna win." Let's make a prediction right now. I have absolutely no idea how the Norwegian Olympic team qualification works. Let's
Mhm.
just assume that nobody is pre-qualified from last season.
Mhm.
Who are the 4 athletes going to the Olympics for the Norwegian men?
Well, the 2 Bow brothers at the moment, obviously. I think you can't really talk about the Norwegian team without those 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd probably put my money on Christensen and Ligrid for the next 2.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I totally agree with Christensen and the Bow brothers. They're, in my mind, shoe-ins.
Mhm.
Um, for the last spot, I'm not a fan of Ligrid. Yeah, I'm gonna go Dale for the 4th spot
Mhm.
because I do think he'll turn it around. He shooting has never been his strong suit, but he shot pretty bad compared to what he's done in the past this weekend.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go Bo, Christensen, Dale for the World Cup or for the Olympics. Another one who kind of snuck up on us here is Simone de Stuo from France.
Mhm.
In my opinion, he's the winner of the weekend because so much emphasis is put on Fillon-Maillet and Jacqueline on the French team,
Mhm.
and Destuo sort of came out of nowhere and gets third and fifth.
Mhm.
So huge props to him. And I was kind of going, back in his stats from a couple of years or from the last couple of years to see, what kind of athlete he is. And he's kind of gone unnoticed because of his teammates, and also with Fourcade. He's been around for a while, and he was there for the Fourcade era. He's kind of gone unnoticed, but he was sort of like Hauser, where he was in the 15 to 20 range for most of the season, and then he got silver at World Champs in the sprint, and then a week later he got his first win in Nove Mesto, and since then he was consistently being in the top 10 for the remainder of the season, and then boom, starts off third and fifth, two flower ceremonies and two races.
Mhm.
Is he the is he the Lisa Teresa Hauser of 2021
I
2021 2022?
I like to think so. I mean, like you said, he's always kind of been unnoticed, and I think that's because he's not really blowing anyone away on the last lap. He's not shooting in 20 seconds like Jacqueline does. I mean, he hits his targets. He skis fast, and he seems like he seems like the total complete package that you would want in a biathlete. I think it's hard to bet against that or think otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and then you have great teammates in Fillon-Maillet and Cloud and Jacqueline. Like the French team is so stacked in terms of guys, and kind of like the Norwegians, but they're
Mm-hmm.
just so stacked on the guys' side that that's like the perfect breeding ground for someone like Destuo, who has experience, um, even has experience with Fourcade, like
Mm-hmm.
arguably the best biathlete to ever live. Yeah, I know, shots fired at Ole Einar Bjørndalen, but um, yeah, maybe this is the year where it's maybe one of two things. Maybe this is the year where he has the confidence and he's just boom, he's that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe this is the year where he has no pressure because he's like, yeah, everyone thinks Jacqueline's going to win, and Jacqueline's going to keep taking all the attention with his antics and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to do my own thing, and all of a sudden, boom, be at the top.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens.
Yeah, hopefully he keeps it up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that would be because I know everyone loves Norway, and like seeing the Norwegians dominate last year was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like it when the field is more not only diverse but competitive. And I think, in my opinion, women's biathlon is way more exciting right now because there's
Mm-hmm.
just so many different athletes from so many different nations that are fighting right now. But I mean, last year was kind of fun with Bo and Lygrid fighting for the top spot. But other
Mm-hmm.
than that, like it was just Norwegian domination.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if we can get some other teams up there, and if Destuo is going to be, leading the French team, and even Cloud is in sixth right now overall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's Jacqueline? 11th overall, and Fillon-Maillet is 16th overall. So again, it's only been two races. There's two Canadians in the top 12 for that matter. But yeah, it's going to be. I hope it's exciting. I hope we do get this sort of shakeup, especially with the Olympic season. Who knows what's going to happen? But speaking of overall, how did our reigning overall champions do this year or do this week?
Johannes Tingus Bo was, had some good races, was skied not as fast as he has in the past, which was interesting to see because he shot clean in the sprint, but was a good amount of time behind Samuelson, who ended up winning, which was interesting to see. We're like,
And his
oh, go ahead.
he had the 10th fastest ski time in the individual, which is his worst or his lowest ski rank in 2 years. Which is just interesting to point out. If you go to Real Biathlon and look at his stats, pretty much every single race for last 3 or 4 seasons is like one or two fastest ski time, which is pretty incredible. Yeah, he said he felt good but he still needs a little bit more time to kind of warm up into racing, which I totally understand. I
Mhm.
feel the same way. You definitely want to get a few races in before the season, and if a little bit of a sickness prevents that from happening, then
Mhm.
you're gonna use the first couple World Cups to warm up
Mhm.
into it.
Yeah, and he he shot clean in the sprint and had 2 misses in the individual, and both those 2 misses were both in standing. So that could have been, I don't know, big gust of wind or maybe just a lapse in concentration, which you think he would kind of figure out as the season goes on. So, like you
Mhm.
said, the ski speed will probably come as the year goes on, and his shooting looks like it's been really solid so far.
Yeah. What type of world are we living in where Johannes Tingus Boe shoots clean and has the third fastest ski time
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't win the race?
A crazy world.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because like last year, 2 years ago, even if he missed two, he could still make the podium or possibly win the race. Still,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then how about Tara Leckhoff? We haven't talked about her yet, but yikes.
definitely. I mean, like last year, we didn't even talk about her for the first 2 weeks. I don't think. Maybe we mentioned that her shooting wasn't super great, but she was still skiing really fast, and that seems to be the case this year.
Yeah. And to clarify also, I want to make something very clear here. Last year she had a record-breaking season and she started the season 67th and then 43rd. So she
Mhm.
actually started last year worse than this year and ended up having a among the most dominant seasons we've ever seen in biathlon, especially for the women.
Mhm.
So if last year, if she can repeat the same pattern as last year,
Mhm.
then after this weekend, she's never going to lose a race again. How about our IBU Cup winners from last year? Seeing Philip Narvath and Vanessa Voigt do so well this weekend
Mhm.
was actually really cool because I think they're going to be World Cup regulars this year. I don't think they're going to be losing their spots.
Mhm.
Um, and we're going to really see what that translation is from, being an IBU Cup winner to being a World Cup regular.
Mhm. And they're both German, so I wonder if this says something about the German system where they're going to start bringing up athletes and kind of bridge the gap to Norway, France, and Sweden. Because it seems like the past few years they've kind of trickled away a little bit and haven't had as many top results. And if these two IBU Cup winners can take that step and help them out in the Nations Cup and relays, that would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and especially for the men. I mean, losing Arne Pfeiffer to retirement last year, he was such a solid, like, top five regular, top 10 regular that, especially in this Olympic season, it seemed like Germany was going to be missing a top spot,
Mm-hmm.
and Benedict Dole, I think, has the ski speed to become that leader, but the does not have the consistency on the range. I
Mm-hmm.
think Eric Lesser is a favorite amongst the fans, but he's getting a little bit old,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I'm not seeing anyone else really step it up, and I think that's really impressive for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Voigt, the women on the other hand are a little bit more competitive. Denise Herman obviously getting a medal in the first race. She's sitting fifth overall, but Franzi Preuss, who was really close, I think she even finished third last year overall. I'll have to go back and double check.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't really talked about her much last year, but she kicked butt last year, like had a really good season.
Mm-hmm.
She's currently in 11th. And then Vanessa Voigt in 24th. And also, I got to give a shout out to Anna Vidal, who has gone 30 for 30 so far in two races when it comes. There's actually going to be a really good fight for the overall this year
Mm-hmm.
because I think every single team has like two superstars and then like two that are pretty good, not super great.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, literally every team,
Mm-hmm.
like Belarus, Norway, Austria doesn't really have a second, but
Mm-hmm.
Sweden has 2, if not more. France has 2, if not more. Russia has 2, if not more. Like the overall for the women is actually going to be super exciting now that I think about it. Like the Nations Cup. I'm sorry, the
I'm not sure if you mentioned, but Italy too with Veer and Vitozzi.
Oh yeah,
Hopefully they can kind of have really good seasons again. But I think the German women definitely are looking really promising this year.
All right, and then I know we already talked about the Canadians, but I mean the Americans. This might be one of the best starts to the season the men have ever had, and like Claire has even had a good start to the season as well. Jake Brown just blows my mind. He's a little bit inconsistent with the shooting, but he sure knows how to pull it together when needed. Because in Soldier Hollow, for some of the last roller ski races of the fall, his shooting was not that good, specifically the standing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he gets 2 top 25 races in the first 2 events with 3 misses in the individual and 1 miss in the sprint, and just throwing top 20 ski times, just absolutely incredible. And then Paul Schomer, literally out of nowhere, he's a USBA B team member, really fought and earned his way onto this team because his spot was not secured by any means. He was kind of on and off the IBU last year, IBU Cup, and starts the season out with a PR, 22nd place, with 2 misses in the individual, like 1-0, 1-0. So 2 misses in prone, 0 misses standing. And he even had a very respectable course time as well, 39th fastest course time. And I think there's 110 people in the race even. So, yeah. And with Jake in the top 20 ski times, like I think the expectation was Sean was going to be the consistent leader of the team. Leaf would have some good individuals. Jake would surprise us with crazy good races now and again, but be very consistent. But yeah, then all of a sudden Paul Schomer comes out of nowhere. Do you think this could be, kind of getting back towards that U.S. team that we had a couple of years ago with, Tim and Lowell leading the team and having young guys like Leif Nordgren and Russell Courier sort of fighting for flower ceremonies in relays, or randomly popping top 10 flower ceremony results?
I want to say yes, but I don't think I've seen enough to convince me that, because a few years ago, Lowell and Tim were consistently top 40, top 30, having really good races just about every weekend, it seemed like. But Jake and Paul, like, it's the first weekend of the year, and Jake had a few really good races last year. Paul, this is definitely a big step up from last year for him. But I think we just need to wait a little bit longer and see the consistency. I think they're going to have some really good relays if they're able to all pull it together on one day. And hopefully Sean kind of warms up into the year, and come next weekend or the weekend after in Austria, hopefully he is able to hit a few more targets and maybe ski a little faster. And I think that would put him and the rest of the American guys in a really good place.
Yeah, I mean, at their peak, or at their height, Tim was averaging approximately 20th to 30th place every race, and Lowell was about the same, 20th to 30th. But then he had that final season in 2017 where he just, his average race result was like in the top 15, which was crazy good. But yeah, I mean, Sean should be, in my opinion, I think Sean should be in like the 30 to 40 range pretty consistently. I think Jake should be as well. Yeah, last year Sean was in like the 40 to 50 range. I think he should be in the 30 to 40 range. And if Leaf can continue to do that and be a really solid member for relays, as well as Jake being able to throw down a top 10 at any moment's notice, then get Paul in there. If Paul can be consistent, like with Sean in the 30 to 40 range, then that's the recipe for a pretty good US team. All right, spare round. New season, new race suits. Who you got? Who's your favorite new race suit?
I I'm not a huge fan of any of them, I think, but I have a feeling that some teams will come out with new ones just before the Olympics or for the Olympics. But my favorite new ski suit, I have Sweden, not because the new ones are great, just because they're significantly better than the ones they had in previous years.
It makes it good. It's all about perspective, right?
Right, exactly. The
Yeah,
ones they had for the past few years were just was way too much yellow.
yeah.
And then this
I'm
year they threw in the blue stripes, and I think it's a lot better this year.
sweet. I still think that yellow's kind of bright, but
True.
I'm gonna go with Belarus because I really
Mhm.
like the contrast of the dark blue base with like the light green sort of highlights with their flag pattern in it. I think it's pretty sharp. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with Belarus. I thought Austria was also a contender, but I'm
Mhm.
liking Belarus.
Yeah, I think the one that I definitely wasn't a huge fan of was the new German ones.
Yes, absolutely not. Especially
Yeah.
their warm-ups. They look like a bunch
Mhm.
of clowns. Like literally they look like jesters out there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button, and you'll be kept up to date on every episode that comes out throughout the season. We're going to try to get one out every week after the World Cup. So leave a comment down below. What do you think about the start of the season? Anything trigger you? Anything that we say trigger you? So leave a comment down below and start the discussion. But until next time, we'll see you.